You finally achieved silence, found peace, and began to move forward, yet the moment you are truly happy, they reappear. Why does ignoring a toxic person inflict more pain than confronting them? This is the dark psychological paradox of the no-contact rule, a single boundary that asserts the victim's autonomy.
So let's jump right into this really powerful idea, why silence hurts a narcissist more than words. I mean, it sounds kind of backwards, doesn't it? How could saying absolutely nothing be a bigger blow than confronting someone head-on? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the psychology behind a strategy known as the no-contact rule. And we're not just going to scratch the surface, we're going to dig into the very mechanism that makes it so incredibly effective, and why it's so profoundly disturbing for a narcissist. It's a huge concept, so let's get into it.
To really get our heads around this, we're going to tackle it in 6 parts. We'll kick things off with this core idea, the paradox of silence. Then we'll define what a no-contact intervention really is. After that, we dive deep into the mechanics of starving the ego. We'll also break down the 2 totally different motivations at play, extinction versus self-preservation. Then we'll shift to the practical side with enforcing absolute silence, and we'll wrap it all up with what this is really all about, your peace, your power.
All right, first up, the paradox of silence. This is where we start to untangle that central mystery. We're always told to communicate, to talk things through. But what if, in certain situations, the strongest move you can make is to just stop talking? We're about to investigate why non-engagement, complete and total silence isn't weakness. It's actually a strategic and deeply assertive form of confrontation. It feels wrong, it goes against everything we think we know, and that's exactly why we need to understand the psychology behind it.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. Why is your silence seen as a bigger threat than anything you could ever say? Just think about it for a second. When you argue, when you scream, when you try to reason with them, you're still playing the game. You're giving them your energy, your focus, you're confirming that they matter. But silence? Silence is a full stop. It's a void where your reaction used to be. And for a personality that needs to be the center of the universe, that needs to control the emotional weather, well, that void isn't just quiet, it's a terrifying scream of their own irrelevance. And that's the powerful idea we're digging into.
Okay, so how do we actually put this powerful silence into practice? That leads us to our next section, the no-contact intervention. And listen, this is a really important distinction we have to make. This is not about giving someone the silent treatment to be petty or to prove a point. We're talking about a formal clinical strategy that experts actually recommend for one very specific, very serious reason: self-preservation.
And here it is, the clinical definition. Let's really look at these words. A definitive, zero-tolerance strategy. Definitive is the key here. This isn't some temporary break, it's a final decision. And zero tolerance is exactly what it sounds like. No cracks in the wall, no loopholes, no one last text. The purpose here isn't to get revenge or to win. The only goal is to interrupt an abuse cycle by completely denying access. It's a shield, plain and simple, not a weapon. So to really get why that shield works so well, we have to understand what it's blocking. And that brings us to this crucial concept: narcissistic supply. The easiest way to think of this is like emotional fuel. It's the attention, the energy, the reactions that a narcissist absolutely requires to keep their ego stable. And here's the kicker, the part that's so tough to wrap your head around. That fuel can be positive, like praise, but it can also be negative. Your anger, your frustration, your tears, all the drama, that is also supply. See, to a narcissist, even a negative reaction is still a reaction. It proves they matter, that they can get under your skin. In their entire world, the only thing worse than being hated is being completely ignored. But why does it have to be so absolute? Why zero tolerance? Well, there's some really critical reasons. First up is something called hoovering. This is basically their bag of tricks to suck you right back in. Think about it, a sudden out-of-the-blue apology, some big new crisis they need your help with, or even just a sweet text about a good old time. No contact slams that door shut, period. Then you've got this other incredibly powerful trap called intermittent reinforcement. The best way to think of this is like a slot machine. They don't give you a reward every time, but they give you just enough good moments to keep you pulling that lever, hoping for the next little payoff. Going no contact? That's you deciding to just walk away from the casino. You're breaking that addictive loop. And at the end of the day, it's all about putting up a wall to protect yourself and, crucially, dismantling their number one weapon, control over you. So, we figured out that no contact cuts off their fuel source. And that brings us to our third section, starving the ego. Now we're getting to the real nitty-gritty of how this lack of contact actually feels like a wound to them. This is the moment where your act of self-defense becomes, in their mind, a direct assault on their very being. It's really a simple, but devastating, two-step process. Step 1, you withdraw control. You go completely silent, you block them everywhere, you take back every single access point they had to you. This is an active, decisive move. And that action immediately kicks off step 2, the supply starvation. That fire hose of emotional energy they were getting from you is just gone, instantly. For someone whose ego is incredibly fragile and completely dependent on that external validation, the result is catastrophic. It's like a drug withdrawal. They get agitated, desperate, and they feel this deep, terrifying anxiety because the very thing that was holding their self-image together has just vanished into thin air.
And this is exactly why your silence is so much more painful to them than any argument you could ever have. Your words, even if they're angry, can be twisted, they can be argued with. It's still a connection, it's still supply. But your silence, it gives them nothing. It can't be spun. It is a total and complete refusal to play their game. So they don't see your silence as you trying to find peace. No, they see it as a massive personal attack. Psychologists have a name for this, a narcissistic injury. It's a direct hit to their inflated sense of self. It tells them, you are so insignificant you don't even deserve a response. And for them, that feels like a catastrophic loss of the only thing that matters, control. This brings us to a really critical point in section 4, extinction versus self-preservation. We're now going to look at the two clashing motivations that drive this whole dynamic. And it's so important to get this. The abuser and the victim are playing two completely different games with two completely different rulebooks. Their goals aren't just different, they literally cannot coexist.
This chart lays it out perfectly. Look at the abuser side. Their motivation is ego survival via external validation. Their entire sense of self is built on getting reactions from the outside world. They need you to react to feel real. So when they get silence, it feels like an existential threat. It's like they're being erased. Now look at the victim side. Healing and safety via internal focus. It's the total opposite. It's about stopping that constant flow of energy outward and finally turning inward to heal. For the victim, silence isn't a weapon. It's a tool to get your own mind and your own life back. It is pure self-preservation. And that word for the abuser's experience, extinction, is so interesting because it's a real term from behavioral psychology. Here's what it means. Any behavior that's kept alive by a reward will eventually just die out when you take that reward away for good. So let's apply that. The abuser's bad behaviors, the constant texts, the manipulation, the drama, that's the behavior. And the reward they're desperate for is your reaction, your supply. By going no contact, you are permanently yanking that reward away. So you see, you're not just ignoring them, you are actively using a proven psychological principle to extinguish their power over you.
Okay, so the theory makes perfect sense. But how do you actually pull this off in the real world? That brings us to section 5, enforcing absolute silence. We're shifting from the why to the practical how-to. These are the concrete steps you take to build that wall and keep it strong.
There are 3 non-negotiable steps. First, immediate and comprehensive blockage. And that means everything. Phone numbers, texts, emails, every single social media app, any possible way they can reach you has to be shut down. Second, preemptive communication. This one's tough, but it's so important. You need to let any mutual friends or family, sometimes called flying monkeys, know that you've set a firm boundary for your own well-being and you won't be talking about this person or getting messages from them. This stops them from being used as a backdoor. And third, and this might be the hardest part, you have to accept temporary amplification. Let's look at that a bit closer.
This is probably the most confusing and difficult stage of this entire process. Right after you cut contact, their behavior is almost guaranteed to get worse, not better. It's called an extinction burst. They might get angrier, they might start begging, they might try to smear your name, anything to get a reaction. You have to burn this into your brain. This is not a sign that you're failing. It is absolute proof that it is working. The louder they get, the more you know you've hit a nerve. It's the sound of their supply addiction screaming for a fix. It's predictable, it won't last forever, and it is the clearest sign that you are on the right track.
And all of that struggle and discipline brings us to our final and most important section, your peace, your power. This is the whole point. This is the ultimate goal of the no-contact strategy.
And we end on this simple, powerful truth. Silence is the only language a narcissist cannot manipulate. Any words you throw at them, whether you're being calm and logical or furious and hurt, it's all just another move on their chessboard. It's still engagement, it's still supply. But your silence takes you off the board completely. All right, let's bring this all together. It's pretty clear, right? The no contact rule isn't just about ignoring someone. It's the ultimate psychological defense. And that's because your silence, as we've seen, hurts a narcissist way more than your words ever could. Remember the pattern. When you starve them of their supply, it triggers this thing called extinction. It throws them into a state of total existential panic because their ego is literally running on empty. And knowing this, that's how you break the cycle. By going for that immediate, comprehensive blockage, you're not trying to be hurtful. You're choosing self-preservation. You're choosing you.
And that is the ultimate takeaway. In this specific toxic dynamic, your words can actually be a weakness, but your silence is your absolute power.